Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a horror thriller film called The Rule of Jenny Penn from 2024. Enjoy your viewing. The film begins in a courtroom. An elderly man is announcing the verdict against the accused of a serious crime. Suddenly, the judge feels unwell and falls to the floor without finishing his speech. After suffering a stroke, Stefan is sent to a nursing home. Upon arrival, the judge, who uses a wheelchair due to dysfunction of the right side of his body, undergoes a medical examination. He is placed in a room with Tony Garfield, a former athlete and football player. Stefan is annoyed by his neighbor's loud communication with his grandchildren via video link. After settling in, the judge goes out to explore the area and get some fresh air. On his way out, he is followed by a cat, which follows him with its eyes. Outside, Stefan meets another resident. The man gives the newcomer a cigarette and offers him a sip of whiskey from a flask. As the judge drives out onto the lawn to inspect the area, the man behind him coughs, spills alcohol on himself, and then drops the lit cigarette, setting himself on fire. Stefan sees the man burning, but he can do nothing. He can only call for help and watch in confusion as the man burns alive. When Stefan wakes up in the middle of the night to use the special utensils, he notices that the front door is open and someone is watching him through the crack. Noticing that the judge has paid attention to him, the stranger closes the door. The next day, an artist performs for the old people. Stefan looks around the room, noticing that the residents don't want to sit next to each other. He also sees last night's guest, who is sitting with a doll on his arm and is also bored. An old lady sits down with Stefan, who believes that she is here for a short time. Her family is away on vacation for the Christmas holidays, but will take her back as soon as they return. The judge reminds her that it is early October. The interlocutor advises them to stay away from the puppeteer named Dave, because there is something wrong with him. He is not quite normal. After the bathing procedures, the judge goes to the manager Madeline to complain. He believes that he was misinformed during the check-in process because he wanted a single room. The manager promises to provide one as soon as she is free. During lunch, Tony's neighbor tries to talk to Stefan, but he is not in the mood for friendship. Later, a nurse works with the judge, performing therapy to develop muscles and neural connections. The man has to pick up a glass with his right hand every time, but it doesn't work, which makes him angry. In addition, Dave laughs irritatingly at a television program. In the evening, when Stefan is being washed in the bathtub, he takes advantage of the fact that the nurse has gone to get a towel and lies down in the water to drown himself. After changing his mind, the judge tries to get up, but is unable to do so until the nurse returns. That night, a bored Dave wanders the corridors. He finds the same woman, who again says that her family is coming to get her, although in fact, she has been here for several years. When Stefan wakes up, he sees Dave in the corner. He is holding a judge's duck filled with yellow liquid. Dave runs over to Stefan's bed, rips off the covers, and pours the contents right down his pants. Later, the nurse wipes off the disgruntled judge, who tries to explain what happened. Madeline, however, is skeptical, believing that the old man is having a fit of dementia. When Stefan asks his neighbor to confirm his story, he says he didn't see anything. At breakfast, Dave brazenly swaps his plate for the neighbors. When it's time for dessert, the puppeteer takes the last of the pudding right out from under Tony's nose. Watching this, Stefan jokes about the overnight guest, saying that all he is capable of is petty mischief. The judge adds that Tony used to be a soccer player. Even though his career didn't work out, he at least achieved something, unlike Dave. The angry puppeteer approaches him and threatens to show up at night. In response, he gets hit. The caretaker takes Stefan away to avoid escalating the conflict. At night, Dave sneaks into the ward with a doll he calls Jenny Penn. He mocks Tony in front of Stefan, forcing him to recognize the toy's power and kiss his wrist. The judge quietly takes out the remote control and tries to call a nurse. Dave then begins to strangle Stefan, warning him that if he resists, it will get worse. When the guest leaves, the judge notices that the remote has been turned off. Tony admits that Dave used to limit himself to a few slaps, but now that the audience is there, the abuse has become more severe. At this time, Dave is wandering around the wards, stealing dentures, rummaging through the laundry, and stealing sweets. Noticing a cat sneaking around the hallway, he follows it and finds the old man lying on the floor, unable to get up. Dave indifferently closes the door so that the dying man is not discovered before it is too late. In the afternoon, the staff organizes a dance. Dave bursts into the dance circle, stepping on people's feet, pushing them, touching them with his hands. Eventually, the old people leave, leaving him to spin to the music alone, until an asthma attack stops him. The same day, local football players and their coach arrive to share their experience. During the event, one of the players notices that Dave is watching him. The judge goes after Tony. The former athlete is hiding in the laundry room. Stefan offers to file an official complaint, but he needs testimony. Tony refuses, saying that he has been living under the man's yoke for too long and is used to it. The judge goes to the manager to talk about it. They go to Stefan's room, where it turns out that Dave was the first to file a complaint against him, accusing him of stealing things. The nurse, on Madeline's orders, checks the room and finds someone else's underwear, a denture, and sweets under the mattress, all carefully planted by the insidious Dave. With this evidence, the staff becomes suspicious of Stefan's mental state. Upset, he walks down the corridor and notices in the photographs that Dave had worked at the boarding house for more than 15 years before he became ill. In the morning, Dave sits down with Stefan for breakfast. The judge confesses that he doesn't see a single useful trait in him, comparing him to something bad. After assessing this, the puppeteer warns Stefan to be careful when rolling the wheelchair, because there are plenty of tables around to bruise. To prove his point, he hits Stefan several times under the table until he grimaces in pain and knocks over a plate. The nurse takes the patient away, who begs the witnesses to tell the truth about Dave. After this incident, the judge is forced to take a sanity test to find out if he has gone mad. Stefan has to memorize words, put together puzzles, and draw simple pictures. He thinks he's doing a great job, but the doctor sees only blurry scribbles instead of a neat clock drawing, which indicates cognitive impairment. Puppeteer continues to be bullied at night. He tells offensive jokes and forces Tony to kiss his doll. However, Stefan refuses to recognize this power over him. Then Dave demonstratively kicks Tony on his injured leg. When he gets tired of it, he sits down on Stefan's bed. The judge spits on the doll, and its owner spits in his face several times. Angry, Dave goes to rummage through the refrigerator in the kitchen. There he meets the patient and tells her that her family has come to visit her. He leads the woman to the exit, opening the lock with his magnetic card key. But the old woman snatches the plastic out of his hands, mistaking it for her own key. Dave takes the card out of her pocket as she bends down to pet her cat. As a punishment, the puppeteer repeats that her family is waiting for her outside and leads her to the fence, where he opens the gate latch to let her out. After telling her to walk straight ahead, Dave closes the gate and returns to the building, passing two nurses who are smoking and talking to each other. Stefan asks Tony why he doesn't report the abuse. The former soccer player admits that he doesn't want the children to feel sorry for him and remember him as a helpless weakling who can't defend himself. Trying to open the door to his room, Dave notices that he has taken the old lady's key out of her pocket, not his own. In a panic, he runs to the fence and runs out over it. He runs down a field road, straight to a huge puddle where the woman is lying drowned. The puppeteer searches her pockets for a key that could be used as evidence, but instead he plants her own card on her. His nerves make his asthma worse. After getting out of the puddle, he takes out his inhaler. Later, in the shower, he washes the mud off himself and his doll, not caring that he left the dead woman lying on her back, a position that should have raised questions for the police. But instead of asking questions, they simply pack up the body and take it away. Suspicious of the man, Stefan goes to the gate to see if the short woman could reach the latch. When he looks back, he sees Dave watching him. The tension grows as they both know who is responsible for the death. When he learns from the commission that he will not be released from the institution anytime soon, Stefan develops a new plan. At night, when he is plagued by nightmares and a furry cat runs through the corridors, Dave again searches through other people's wards. Behind each door, the patient hopes that the man will not come to him. After choosing a victim, the puppeteer enters the room, and the next morning another dead old man is taken out of the room. Noticing that the number of corpses is growing and the authorities are silent, Stefan sneaks into the manager's office to steal a universal key. When the nurse takes Dave for a water treatment, the judge breaks into his room to plant his wallet and accuse him of stealing. However, when he returns, the puppeteer notices that the flower pot is out of place. Dave goes to the common room, turns on the music, and after throwing the wallet to Stefan, starts dancing mockingly. Active movements provoke another asthma attack. When he takes out his inhaler, he notices that it is empty. Stefan had already gotten into his room and discharged the device. Terrified, Dave runs with all his might to the room where the spare inhalers are kept, but they are all empty, thanks to the efforts of the cunning judge. Realizing that there is no escape, the old man crawls down the corridor, but stops at the threshold. At night, Stefan puts the nurse's call button on the nightstand without waiting for Tony and falls asleep. At breakfast, he and Tony look around the dining room, but the puppeteer is nowhere to be found. He hasn't even come to watch his favorite TV. After dozing off, Stefan wakes up to find himself being carried down the hall. The survivor Dave brings him to the living room, where he overturns the wheelchair, knocking the judge to the floor. He then pushes the blind patient to the side, puts the woman in a chair, and begins to undress her. The judge, barely able to stand on his feet and leaning on his cane, strikes Dave, breaking his arm. At this point, the staff rushes into the room and grabs Stefan, mistaking him for the perpetrator of the disturbance. The judge is placed in a separate room. Dave visits him to confess why he hated him. Once upon a time, he worked as a janitor at a hotel. It was there that he first saw Stefan speaking to other lawyers at a conference among important guests. As a simple janitor, Dave envied him and everyone else who had achieved something in life. But now, when they are all old and weak, and he is still full of energy, the tables have turned. Now he is the king of life. To avoid being tortured, the paralyzed Stefan is forced to accept the man's authority. Having satisfied his sadistic tendencies, the puppeteer leaves. During the day, he dances in the hall in front of the other patients, who now realize that they are at his mercy. When Stefan is discharged from the medical unit, Tony tries to cheer him up, but sees that his neighbor has finally broken down. Then the former athlete approaches the sadist and starts dancing in front of him as a sign of protest against his power, which is noticed by all the other patients, including Stefan. During the day, a string quartet plays for the elderly, but Dave and Tony are busy, one scaring and the other being scared. At night, deciding it's time to punish the bold one, the puppeteer goes to Tony's room, but it's empty. He goes out into the corridor, not noticing a cat under the bedside table, a fluffy angel of death, which portends an imminent death for one of the guests. Dave notices that someone is in the back room and goes in. Stefan and Tony meet him there. The two of them attack the puppeteer, knock him to the floor and strangle him. Convinced that he is dead and his revenge is complete, Stefan burns his puppet in a garbage pile outside the next day. Later in the hall, Stefan is playing a board game with another patient. He notices a cat at his feet, a symbol of the imminent death that this time came to the doll and its unjust, sadistic power. If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klonsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.